Saturday. It's Saturday, folks. We're live, and I hope everyone's having a wonderful time. This is part of the broadcast where I tell you about my personal news about what's going on in the world of Hasan HasanAbi Piker in between the time period where I press the stop streaming button and press the start streaming button. So help me God, that's what I'm gonna do. August has been address the liberal Zionist allegations, JK, hoping you're having a wonderful. Yeah, I will, of course. I'm getting canceled. We're gonna do that. We're gonna get into that in a second. But yeah. Personal news wise, I ended the broadcast last night. What did I do? Absolutely nothing. Long day watching two old men give each other side sucks up and down, and then it was a real orgy basically. It was a real orgy yesterday. Donald Trump versus Vladimir Putin. Hot, sweaty. We saw the action in real time. It was wild. It was a wild thing to watch unfold. Please don't take the cancellation seriously. It's just BadEmpanada and 2 MLs. No, I know. I'm not taking it seriously. What? That's the joke. The joke is that it's not real. Reminder, you have kids watching apparently. Okay, that's true. Hold on. I know that it's not real. I'm going to address it in a second. Hold on a moment. But in any case, ladies and gentlemen, what was I going to do here? Oh, yeah, I got to fucking remove this thing. I still haven't removed this goddamn panel. Let me do that real quick. Boom, boom, boom. There it is. Think Hamzat Chimaev wins tonight? Inshallah. Okay, so, what was I saying? What was I doing? Oh, yeah, personal news-wise, end of the broadcast, didn't really do much. Played a bunch of Expedition 33. Played a bunch of Expedition 33. Watched some Fire Force. Went to sleep. Woke up. Saw some fucking nasty shit all up and down Reddit. Saw that I was getting canceled simultaneously by BadEmpanada and as not being sufficiently pro-Palestine, which is true. That's right. It's mine now. So I'm pro-Israel. I'm Israel Chai. That's right. I can't wait for my major media career. None of it is relevant. We'll talk about some of it as a joke. It doesn't really matter. But that's it. I worked out this morning. I deadlifted. I feel pretty good. And I'm gonna try to do a fun day as well. I'm gonna try to do somewhat of a fun day. Squirrel has been trying to cancel leftists for a while. Fed behavior? No. They're very passionate about this issue. They've yelled at me in the past. Again, like I said, we can have healthy and reasonable disagreements with one another. I will still. It's not a cancellation. You deadass platform is genocide denier. That's a bad faith misinterpretation of song. Come on now. The irony, of course, is that if you were to listen to the interview, these are some of the things that I addressed. This is some of the things that he also said. He says it's a genocide. So, but I do believe that a lot of people are going to come back in here today and just like make a mountain out of a molehill, which is fine. If you guys want to be on this wavelength, that's all right. I'm going to keep it pushing. I'm going to keep talking about things that I think are relevant and important. But that's it. Yeah, because he's covering his ass after 2 years of genocide support. I told you what my policy is. You say it's a genocide. You want to fucking stop weapons transfers to Israel, and you are an advisor in the foreign policy blob. Keep pushing. As long as you don't try to limit others who are more radical than you, try to stop others, and try to actively deplatform others. If you are unconditionally and uncompromisingly on board, then it is what it is. Good. Only time will tell if these people are being cynical or being bad. But it's not like we agreed. There was there was a back and forth there that I think a lot of people fail to consider. Also, the conversation was supposed to be about Ukraine and Russia, which, you know, obviously I can't stop talking about Israel, which is why it is what it is. The people have spoken, Mother showed, listen to our voices. I mean, you're talking to people in the Democratic Party structure like Zero Shock. They've had horrific takes up until this point. So you very clearly pushed them on things and didn't tone down your language at all. I know. But I think a lot of people, the issue is a lot of people think that a person who is like a foreign policy guy is a conversation that you have with a person who's like a foreign policy guy who you have disagreements with, that you let your disagreements be known, is going to lead to like a bloodbath. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm talking to fucking someone who is an ultra Zionist or someone who is like refusing to say it's a genocide. Like you know what my red lines are. You know, someone who is a significant hurdle, like someone who says like, oh, you can't speak about this, you can't speak about that. Someone who places the feelings of Jewish people cynically in front of like an actual genocide. And the irony, of course, as always, is that it's the same principle behind the Nelk boys. Like I had a conversation with them in the immediate aftermath where I directly told them, like, what you guys did was like interviewing Adolf Hitler, and there were a lot of journalists that were tried at the Nuremberg trials in the aftermath of the Holocaust for their participation in it. And yet that in and of itself did not come across as like being sufficiently antagonistic to a lot of people, because some of you guys, I think, are more invested. Some of you guys are more invested in the bloodbath of it all, and not necessarily the information you can derive out of that. I told you what the reason was. I also didn't know a lot of the stuff that Matt Duss had said, to be fair. And I wish I had known, so I could just like push back on some of this stuff, right? But having said that, I think there is a difference with the way that I have adversarial interviews with like someone like Matt Duss versus someone like what's her face? Elise Stefanik, right? Crystal Ball's Stefanik interview is fantastic. Everybody loves that. Just apologize, man. I will never apologize for that. And the fact that you are demanding an apology for this is the most idiotic thing I've ever fucking heard in my entire life. Who the fuck are you? Like, what the fuck are you saying? Who the fuck do you think you are? What do you mean? Like, this is what I'm talking about. The sense of entitlement that a lot of people have in this situation is so fucking insane. It's going to be a rough stream. I know. You're seeing a long bubbling issue with this chat, and that is being detached from reality and human interaction and pouncing on everyone who says something that makes them 1% less comfortable. In any case, like I said, I don't know much about Matt Duss beyond the interview and his commentary yesterday. He seems like a fine dude. What's going on? It's because of a bunch of the stuff that he has said in the past that even I think are total fucking early genocide apologia. And I wish I knew more about that, because what he's saying right now is like what he's saying right now is that it's a genocide. You got to stop, weapons transfers. And part of the reason why I wanted to address some of that was because like I wanted to hear what he would say in defense of like offensive weapons versus defensive weapons. And I made these exact points about like how you wouldn't give Nazi Germany anti-aircraft weapons, right? Like those are the kinds of conversations that I think are important to have. Having said that, people are once again making an insane mountain out of a molehill. And not only that, but also they're making an insane mountain out of a molehill. Yeah, he conceded on that front. That's the other thing. Like, there was a bunch of stuff that he actually, like, there was a bunch of things that he conceded on in that situation. And I think overall, as I've said before, one of the things that I find important to address is having disagreements with people, even to the right of myself, that would still be in the center left sphere. He also appeared on Amy Goodman and Sam Cedar. I know, but it's really interesting because obviously their audiences are not going to fucking yell at them and be like, you're platforming an ultra Zionist or whatever, you're a Zionist. And that's the difference there, is because I am more accessible than those people. And also because, like, I think I am more radical than Sam Cedar and also Amy Goodman even as well. People say apologize for platforming is wild. Yeah, I know. The people who need to hear this aren't even here yet. Chatters will bring it up over and over again, and you will lose your temper and yell at them, and that will turn into a cancellation of its own. I know. This is usually how it works. I guess the only thing I will say is eyes on the prize. Keep it pushing. Eyes on the prize. You must have a singular focus in this moment. If you hate me for it, if you think I'm a Zionist, that's fine. I've been having to deal with the inverse of that my entire life. It's a new meta. Now instead of being called a terrorist, now I'm being called a Zionist, which is ironically enough, in my opinion, worse than being called a Hamas supporter. Being called an Israel supporter is worse than being called a Hamas supporter, except, of course, in the eyes of the broader American public, one is the established norm in American politics. The other is, of course, anyone that recognizes the humanity of brown people, which automatically means you should be shot and killed and possibly sent to jail. So in this community, and I think in the minds of honest people, in the minds of people who recognize the reality that is unfolded here, which is unfortunately still a very, very, very small percentage of the population. Of course, I will continue pushing to try to make that percentage of the population size larger. But, the stuff that goes back and forth in inter-leftist circles are not things that the average American is thinking about. And my job is to try to make the average American more primed and more open-minded to the things that we talk about here. And I think I do a fairly good job at it, so I'm going to continue doing that. It's not the first time people have yelled at me over stuff like this, but that's it.